Yeah, how are you? Touch base with her real quick.
Yeah, I can give her a
Go, or maybe she's going to join us, maybe not.
Hey, are you jumping online? It's 6:32.
That was very specific. Hi.
Yeah, if you just go to the Weathersfield website and click the mountain, it'll direct you right to the Zoom link. Okay. No worries. All right, bye-bye. She's about to join.
Want me to wait, or you get started?
I think we're fine too, yeah.
Yeah, I think we can get started. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Welcome to the Weathersfield Select Board meeting. It is 10:28. Agenda review. Anything on the agenda that anybody would like to rearrange or discuss? No? Yep, go ahead. To, what do you got?
Well, last meeting we had talked about an executive session, but then we had two members not here at the meeting. It'd be appropriate to
What's the board's, Dave, what do you still want to go into that executive session?
I think it was just to clarify the, if I remember right, Mr. DeFelice's comments dealing with Old Bow Road to coordinate between whatever was going to happen with town council, or so that the board wouldn't comment in open session about an ongoing issue. I don't know if that's been resolved yet or not. I haven't talked to anybody, so I think that was.
We're at several levels of ongoing stuff. If you want to go into executive session, I'll entertain a motion and a second for executive session at the end of the meeting. If you want, if everybody feels they want to do it, that's, so I'll hit that. Any other business? I'm making a note. Thank you, Nathan. Any other issues on the agenda? Hearing none. Comments from select board, town manager, citizens, topics not on the agenda. Select board first. Anybody, any comments? Town manager, any comments here?
I can reserve them for 9.
And citizens, topics not on the agenda. Any comments from any citizens, topics not on the agenda? Hearing none. Review of minutes, previous meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of 10/15/24? So moved. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Minutes of 10/15/24. Any corrections? Everything look okay to everybody?
I have one, I think, on 17. Just make sure. Maybe I'm making that up. Thought there was just some. All right, never mind. It was. It's on 11 on the liquor licenses. Just correcting Dave's name.
Okay. Oh, Mrs. Fuller, Ms. Fuller?
Ms.
Okay. Any other corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of the minutes, 10/15/2024, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? I don't see Rika up there yet.
Yeah, she's all the way up.
Upper left hand.
Up on the left, that's where she is? Hi, Rika. Okay. Did she step out of the room? I didn't see what was taking place there.
She may just.
Rika, we just voted on the minutes. Do you want to vote, abstain, or unmute? Can't hear you. Need to unmute. We can't hear you.
Is it her or us?
There you go. There you go.
Now you can hear me?
Now we can hear you.
All right, so I vote to accept.
Okay, thank you. It is unanimous on the minutes. Thank you, Rika. Public hearing, town plan energy section. Oh, boy, I'm sorting through these things. It's that one. Tonight is a public hearing for the town plan energy section sent to us by the Planning Commission. I will read the notice of public hearing. In accordance with the provisions of 24 VSA, section 4442, 4444, the Select Board for the town of Weathersfield, Vermont will hold a public hearing on Monday, October 28th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at Martin Memorial Hall at 5259 US Route 5 in Ascutney, Vermont, to hear public comments on the following matters. Statement of purpose. The following matter is the, it doesn't say it on the here, so I'm not going to read it. Statement of purpose. The purpose of these amendments is to conserve energy, promote renewable energy resources, encourage energy efficient development, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and decrease transportation energy demand. Geographic areas affected. All lands within the town of Weathersfield are affected by these amendments. Section headings: energy. Section 7. I'm going to add this because it's not on here, and it should have said, this is a town plan energy section. This is not a zoning bylaw. This is the town plan. Section 7, energy. Additional information. Persons wishing to be heard may do so in person, be represented by an agent, or may file written comments with the Select Board prior to the hearing. Information concerning this matter is available at the Town of Weathersfield office from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mondays, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Tuesdays through Thursdays, and 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Fridays. Our telephone number is 802-674-2626. Participation in the local proceeding is a prerequisite to the right to take any subsequent appeal. Remote attendance is available. To join public meetings via phone, dial 929-205-6099. When prompted, enter meeting ID 542-595-4364. You will not have a participant ID. Please press hashtag when prompted to skip this section. The passcode for all meetings is 8021. Dated this date of Weathersfield, dated at Town of Weathersfield, Windsor County, State of Vermont, this 27th day of September 2024. Michael Todd, Chair, Weathersfield Select Board. So I will open the hearing. It is 6:42. Brandon, is Ryan or Brian presenting on this?
Yep. Ryan's on Zoom.
Okay,
Amir, can you hear me?
we can. Thank you, Ryan. Go ahead. Floor is yours.
So this is the energy chapter of the town plan. It's something that has come up in the past, and it basically just never got finalized. So it was approved or accepted by the planning commission maybe not quite 2 years ago. And the process is the planning commission holds a hearing, then it gets sent to the select board for their review and official adoption. So there's a time limit on town plan amendments when they get started and how soon a hearing needs to be held and adoption needs to be complete. scenic vistas and steep slopes and things of that nature. So I guess I'll leave you with that, and if you have questions, I'm happy to talk about it.
Are there any questions? Anybody in the gallery? Any of the citizens? Select Board have any questions for Mr. Gumbart? Mr. Fuller?
Were there any changes, Ryan? I mean, usually we would have seen in letters like black letters, and then a change would be like in italics or different print, similar to like the first pages. So were there any changes or no?
Yeah, so, as part of the printed packet, I don't see it in the meeting packet here. There's an amended version that shows all the track changes. So there were considerable changes, and it's mostly from, section 7.7 on, where it talks about Vermont Public Utility Commission, review and the review process, and then there's general standards and different layers of citing. All of that is new, specific to addressing the PUC's review process.
Any other questions? Or does that answer your question, Dave?
Well, is that important for, like, let's say a potential 5-acre site, or, because I read down under 7.81, it says that the town is highly supportive of small-scale things. So, was 7.7, or was there concerns about, like a system like at the highway garage, another one appearing, or what would?
So I think from my understanding, the PUC's they review any solar facility that's connected to the grid, and a lot of projects, especially roof-mounted projects and smaller scale things, are eligible for an expedited process. I'm not really sure how the hearing goes. For larger projects, the town would get notice, a 30-day notice, and they can provide input, and they'll hold a public hearing and things of that nature. I think with the smaller scale facilities, they have basically, it's basically just an application, and I think the board reviews it, so it's not really an administrative review, but I don't believe that they hold a hearing for all small scale things. Whether or not the town highway garage project crosses that threshold, I don't know.
Do you know if so we have 3, right? 3 5-acre sites in town, at least.
Yes.
Did they just go through the planning board?
No, those, actually, the 5-acre sites are actually closer to 3.5 acres of solar panels. It takes about 5 acres to set something like that up. But those are, I think the cutoff, Ryan and Dave, is 500 kilowatt.
Right.
That's the trigger for the PUC to go into what he referred to as a board review.
Another layer of planning, or some, another review, another layer.
Act 248, it's almost like Act 250, but it's Act 248, it's Public Utility Commission.
I don't hear of, I used to get solicited a lot to put some on my properties. I don't hear that anymore. I mean, I got 3 from different companies in the past in a hurry about, I want this 5 acres, I want this 10 acres, I want this whatever. And now I don't hear any more solicitation. I don't know what's happened, whether it's run its course, or I don't really know what's going on with all of the solar. I don't know.
Yeah, the updates to this plan, as Ryan pointed out in the beginning, was completed almost 2 years ago. And I have to take full responsibility for that not coming before this board following their first hearing on this change. What started this change was, I believe, what was sent down from the state of Vermont and called the Enhanced Energy Plan. That was what triggered all the meetings we had. You heard Annette Smith's name mentioned. When we got that information at the PUC, we had a meeting with her, and it was open. It was down here, as a matter of fact, and people from the it was open to the public. The Planning Commission did not agree with. In fact, Sven Federa was our zoning administrator. He was an attorney, and did not agree with a fair amount of language that the state was looking for in there. Substantial difference being one of them. Substantial difference meant that if you did the enhanced energy plan, you got substantial difference in the process. But it was you were giving up some things too in doing it, and he was concerned about that. And so was Annette, and so was the Planning Commission. And so the decision from the Planning Commission was it was better for us to handle this with our own language and our, you know, how do we want our town to handle these things? There's nothing that was created by the Planning Commission to stop. That wasn't the goal within this language. The goal was to, as Annette and her organization spelled it out for us, to do it right. Because there have been across the state some systems that were put in that maybe they're damaging to the area aesthetically or even agriculturally. And the challenges in the ability for the town to have a say in it seem to be almost non-existent. And as Ryan pointed out before, the Act 250 and Act 248 both do not go to zoning bylaws. They only use the town plan. So the information, so that's what we tried to do at the Planning Commission. I'm speaking as a Planning Commissioner because there doesn't appear to be another one here at the moment. If there is, they can chime in and help me with this, as they might understand. Because as the chair of this meeting, I'd rather not, but I feel kind of compelled to try to get you up to speed on some of this stuff. This plan was written once, went through the Planning Commission hearings, did not make it up here, had to be redone again at the Planning Commission, and some changes were made. You know, a few years have gone by, and we had more input from some others in town about what they wanted to see, and that was, consideration was given to that, and the plan was written. I guess that about sums it up.
What are you looking for now? Does this hearing close and then we can adopt these, or does it?
Yes. Okay. Yes, that's exactly right, Dave. And as with the zoning bylaws and the town plan, these are living documents. And, you know, we try really hard over at the Planning Commission to cover all our bases, but as soon as we get done with something, like I'll refer to a bylaw specifically, town plan is not quite as rigid as the zoning bylaws are. But we'll get done with something, and right after that, something will pop up in zoning that we didn't consider, and it's like, duh. You know, but we do the best we can, and they're living documents. They can always be updated as we move forward in time.
So if I look at the highlights of this, right, it prohibits 5 acre or larger on non-preferred sites, right, for solar.
That's correct.
And 100 kilowatt hour or larger for wind, it would be prohibited. Which would be, I don't know, what page this is, 7.82A.
Ryan, can you address that?
I just want to make sure I understand what is actually prohibited, what is allowed, and kind of, I understand the commercial side, right, that the hearing piece. I guess the other question I have is like, Dave wants to put solar on his roof. What does this mean for Dave as far as a process?
So I think officially nothing can be prohibited this way. It all gets reviewed and approved by the PUC. and
Be
then
7.9D, right? 7.9D is where it says it's explicitly prohibited. That's where I got that language from. Ma-
7.91D.
Yeah, mass and scale.
I'm
What page are
assuming
you on, Nate?
decommissioning for that section.
Oh, yeah, sorry, maybe I screwed up. No, well, no. Mass and sales, except for solar projects located on preferred sites, renewable electricity facilities larger than 5 acres, individually or cumulatively, that cannot be screened or mitigated to blend into the landscape are explicitly prohibited. So that's why, that's where
What page are you on, Nate?
I don't know.
Up on the top left, it'll come into,
Should be
Yeah,
like-
24. It's up there.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that. I just want to make sure that I understand it.
Yeah, so I think what we're saying basically is that solar within a important scenic vista, for example, like looking like right in front of Mount Escutney, where we called it out as a important scenic vista in the town plan in another section, that's maybe is a currently forested area, or maybe it's a wetland or something like that. Those would be non-preferred sites, and so. While we say that's not where we want them, they would be prohibited by our town plan. The PUC has the ability to say overrule. This is to benefit the public good. So the prohibition is maybe more of a stance that we're trying to take. But yeah, basically what we're trying to say is that we don't want forests cleared to install solar. We want them to be done in a sensible location and screened as much as possible so that the negative impact is mitigated to the best that it can be.
And really quick, the preferred site thing, that's really important. Whenever somebody files for an Act 248 permit with the PUC, the town is notified and the planning commission has to issue a preferred site status letter that designates, either we agree or we don't agree from the planning commission's standpoint, with the site, with the site plan, where it is, what it is. But again, as Ryan just said, the PUC is the ultimate authority. They can take that letter and say, yeah, we consider it, but they can set it aside and still do what they want. Anything else on the energy chapter? Any other questions or from anybody?
Does a roof, I mean, let's say my big barn, I mean, it's 50 by 150. You mean you gotta go through that's not just a simple permit that I take out with the land use administrator and say that I want half of that for solar?
Ryan, you can answer this, but I don't think that land use has anything to do with it. I think it's PUC.
Correct, yeah, there would be no town zoning permit. The town really doesn't have that regulatory authority. And like we've called out, the rooftops are a preferred location, and I don't know if it's a amount of energy being produced that triggers a higher level of review by the PUC, but it all technically, any small amount, as long as it connects to the grid, does go to the PUC for their approval.
And I think that's what happens, because I know that the Sheehan sawmill put it up on half of their entire roof, and they're running the sawmill on solar. And it does go onto the grid, and then just like ours, then you get credited, so you have to buy the power, but you're providing a source of power to the grid. I don't think anybody's got battery power enough to run, like he can't do that, you can't, there's not enough storage.
Any other questions? Anything from anybody in the crowd? Anybody online want to comment on this? Or have any questions? Going once? Going twice? Okay. I will declare the hearing closed. It is 6:59. Is the board prepared to make a decision on the adoption of the town plan energy section? A motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt the energy plan is passed through the planning commission to be added to the Weathersfield town plan.
Dave, could you add draft 11/29/2023? Would that be correct, Ryan, that date? I'm looking at it, I have 11/29/23.
Yep, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah, I see it almost on every page.
yep. Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the town plan energy section dated 11/29/23. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. 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 Rika? Rika?
I'm going to abstain tonight because I haven't had a chance to read it.
Okay, so we have 4, 0, and 1. One abstention. Thank you all. Old Bow Road surveying. I think we have to wait for the town manager to return. You're right on time. Okay. And you're up on Old Bow Road survey.
All right. So I'm requesting that the select board authorize a survey on Old Bull Road pursuant to 19 VSA 33 of the Class 3 and Class 4, or just the Class 4 sections of Old Bull Road to verify the location and width of the existing right-of-way. A couple of months ago, we talked about doing a survey, so I contacted Deb Daniels Surveying, who did the report on Old Bull Road back in 2008, I believe, and she said she could do it in November.
2006, wasn't it?
2006, I'm sorry. And she said she can do the survey in November. But in speaking with town council, we think it's more appropriate to run the survey and go through the official surveying process. And then after she completes her surveying, she'll present her findings to the select board. The select board will vote to either accept or deny her findings, and then from there it gets reported in the town clerk's office. Everybody gets a copy of it on Old Bull Road.
Excuse me, can you sit closer to your speaker? Your mic, I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, much
Okay.
better, thank you.
Sorry about that. So basically what I'm looking to do is have the select board authorize a survey pursuant to 19 VSA 33 of the Class 3 section and the Class 4 section of Old Bull Road, or just the Class 4 sections. And the purpose of this is to verify the location and width of the existing right-of-way, easement, or fee title, and determine the extent of the interest of the public in the title, and direct town staff to issue such notices of the planned survey as required by statute. So if the select board votes to do this tonight, we would then officially warn a survey. Everyone would get notified on Old Bull Road. And then I'm looking for the select board to authorize me to select the surveyor and to work with the surveyor, town council, and other staff and personnel to perform such additional research into the status and location of Old Bull Road as we deem prudent.
I've got a couple questions. The 19 BSA 33, the warrant, is there a warning period or timeline that follows that you could clarify for us?
Yes, if you go to page, let me see here, page 30 in your packet, it shows the entire statute, so how everything will be performed. So notice of the completion of the survey shall be sent to all known abutting landowners by certified mail, not less than 30 days before the survey results are filed with the appropriate town clerk, together with the notice of statutory rights of appeal and damages. So there is an appeal period.
Okay, what I'm actually looking for is our warning period. In other words, like if we vote tonight to do this, like with the hearing, there's a 15-day warning period. We post
Yep.
it, and the actual hearing date's 15 days out. Is there anything like that in this?
I don't see anything in the statute.
Okay.
When I spoke with town council, this is basically the advice that he gave to do tonight. And then from here, once the select board authorizes the survey, town council and I will assemble a notice of survey. You would sign a notice. It would get posted just like the agendas do in public hearings. But these would actually be sent certified mail to any abutting landowners in the Class 4 or Class 3 section. For this, we don't think a survey of the entire road is necessary. But if there is no record of a survey and the bounds are not discernible, it likely makes sense to survey the entire portion of Old Bull Road. That was subject to the reclassification hearings back in 2006.
Okay, I had one question, one more, but it may have just became two.
Okay.
And that is cost. And my reason for asking for projected cost, which would be split into two now, whether it's
Yep.
3 and 4 or just 4. Are we within the purchasing policy to allow you the authority to move forward without coming back here with an RFP?
So according to the purchasing policy, professional services are exempt.
Okay.
So that includes services such as town council, engineering, surveying, any professional service.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from the board on this?
At what point are you determining to be class 3 or 4? Is it at 0.61 miles to the end, to the interstate? Or frame for me the section that you're talking about?
From TH 66 to the western boundary of I-91.
I'm a bit confused because the surveyor, whoever you get, and I'm hoping that it's the same person that did the work in 2006.
It is.
Because they'd be familiar with the project. That all the surveyors are licensed and they take an oath in the state, and you've already done so much work on and I know they need to do it over again because they need to do it to research the town records. So I'm not sure how much work actually land use or yourself has to done because you've already done a lot of papers and you have them in your hand. So I don't know that it matters, quite frankly, whether this board approves or takes action on after that work is done, because this person's a licensed surveyor. I mean, it is, they're not gonna, they'll risk their license. We're not gonna go over there and say, no, we think it's here or not there. No, that's not our job, nor anybody else's. It's a surveyor's job to do that.
Yep.
So I'm a little confused that we have to accept it after or something. I've already talked to you about this. I'm all in on it, and it'll help all the residents, regardless of who they are, on Old Bow Road from now until, I don't know when. Anybody, including those that think that might be controversy or not. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dave. The purpose of the survey coming before the board is it's a statutory requirement.
To accept the findings of the surveyor.
Yep.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
So, but so the motion would be to approve the survey done of Old Bow Road from what to what now? I want to be clear, and I want that in whatever you want.
I think it'd be authorize the town manager there in the bottom line, right? Just let the surveyor work with the surveyor or town
Yes.
council. That's the motion. Yes.
So the recommendation or the motion would be to authorize the survey of the Class 3 and Class 4 portion of Old Bow Road from TH 66 to the boundary end at the which is the interstate end, right?
Yep, the western boundary of
Western
I-91.
end.
I believe we all looked at the
Yep,
monuments.
We did.
So that's where we would survey too.
that's what I was seeing. That sound right, Dave?
Yeah, so but here's where it's really important.
Let's get the motion finalized first, and then I'll let you continue, Dave. And so at that western end, and to allow the town manager, the end part, what was it?
Oh, I would just use the motion as presented, right?
Oh.
Because that gives him the flexibility if she says, or the person says, I need to go a little bit beyond
Yep.
that because it's not clear. So that's why I would use it as written, so we're not back here at the table over a
Thank you.
short distance. So I
Okay.
just adopt it as, I mean,
Adopted as written.
Nikki, are you clear on that? Okay, thank you. Dave, what were you gonna say?
Well, so is there a second?
Second?
So,
Dis-
so
discussion.
as far as the scope of work goes, I mean, I've seen so many papers, and I know we all have seen so many papers, and they're easy to look at and say, including from all parties, that whether you think, no, I think something is here or there. So I would like the scope of work to also include, I have a feeling that this is 3 rods, which is 49.5 feet, but, and I think that, Brandon, you and I have talked about this, that the scope include pinning every 100 or 200 feet.
Yes, when I talked to Deb, we talked about pinning it every 100 feet.
Because that's, putting the ground to the papers is really important right here on this project.
So you'll include that in the contract?
Yes.
Request in the contract?
Yep. It'll be between 100 and 150 feet. And this survey will verify the location and the width of the road. So to Dave's point, it will determine if it's rerouted or not.
Any other questions or comments? Any other discussion? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor to authorize the surveying of Old Bow Road. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? It is unanimous, 5-0. Thank you all. American Rescue Plan Act funding. Brandon?
So before we get into that, Rika, I have a question for you. Since you're on Zoom, can you hear us and can you see us?
I can see you and I can hear you. It seems the distance from the mic makes a difference. I have,
Okay.
Dave is sometimes a little hard to hear.
Okay, and Dave's microphone is the furthest away. So can you bring the microphone a little bit closer? Sorry. And I think you and Kelly are sharing a microphone right now. Okay. All right, thanks, Rika. I just wanted to verify. All right, so we currently have 110,000 remaining to obligate before the end of the calendar year. There's a reconciliation here of all of our ARPA expenses. So this is everything that that the select board's voted to do so far. And the balance here at the bottom is $110,106.17. Just a quick update on current projects. So the Hoisington Fields Master Plan, the award letter was sent. When I had written this, the contract was pending. They did send me the contract tonight, so I'm gonna review that tomorrow, and if everything looks good, then I'll go ahead and execute it. So that'll be obligated once we sign off on that. The Soaring Pines project, the award letter was sent, contract is pending, so we have to develop the contract, send it to Daniels, and then come to an agreement, and then that'll be obligated. The trail inventory and mapping project, the RFP has been advertised, bids are due on November 14th. West Weathersfield Fire Station repairs, that was advertised, bids are due on 11/21. The office computers, we have a signed purchase order from the vendor, so that's obligated. Police cruiser computers is pending currently because we're just trying to determine whether we're going to use a Wi-Fi router or we're going to use cellular service. Once that decision's made, then we'll sign the purchase order. or working with the police department to see which is most cost effective, and will work the best in the cruisers. So it doesn't change the price. Martin Memorial Hall drainage engineering. I have this marked as pending direction from the select board. I'm not sure if we want to proceed with engineering the drainage or if we want to proceed with HVAC. So if we can discuss that a little bit tonight. Fire department training, pending a signed service order from the vendor. I talked to Josh today, and he's just in the middle of getting a contract together with the people that are doing the training, and then we can sign off on that. So I think that'll be all set before the end of the year. And then the tree maintenance, we received the bids, and we'll talk about those tonight. So the first up is the Ascutney Fire Department Modine heater. In the last meeting, Ray had mentioned a different type of heating system. The members of the fire department committee reviewed that, and their recommendation still remains unchanged. Doing that kind of heating would require a lot more than what we have available. So, is everybody okay with the Modine heater project?
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the Modine heater for the Ascutney Fire Station at a cost not to exceed $6,500 to be out of ARPA funds.
Do I hear a second? I'll second the motion. Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Motion to approve the Modine heater project at Ascutney Fire Station for total cost not to exceed $6,500. And what was the addition to that? Was there an addition to that?
But you have to be removed from ARPA funds, so you know.
Yeah, for the funds to come from ARPA. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries 5-0-0.
Thank you very much. Tree care project. So the select board approved $15,000 for tree care and removal. We advertised an invitation for bids, and we received 3 bids. We received one from Upper Valley Property, one from Ted Knox, and one from Chippers. The project covers 4 sites: the Perkinsville Green, Center Grove, Town Office, and Ascutney Park. Our bid form asked them to break out how much it would cost per site. So the bids are here. The low bid is $23,750. I believe, and Ryan, are you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
Sorry I didn't touch base with you before the meeting. Does this RFP give us the ability to award, let's say, Chippers, the Perkinsville Green project, and then Center Grove to the Upper Valley property?
You mean, does it allow us to break out the 4 properties and do them individually?
Yes.
I don't think it's specified either way.
Okay. So alternatively, then, we could choose the low bid per project, which would save us about $4,000. Chippers is the low bid for Perkinsville Green. Center Grove, Upper Valley property is the low bid there. Ted Knox is the low bid for Town Office and Ascutney Park. So the total cost would be $19,750. So there's currently $13,000 remaining in ARPA funds. So the board would either need to vote to approve an additional 10 if we just award the holding to Chippers, or an additional $6,700 if we move forward with awarding each of the companies their low bids per project.
I'm going to pose this question as if I don't know anything. If we were only doing the Perkinsville Green, and the cost is $7,700, is that required to go through the purchasing policy for an RFP?
For an RFP, no.
Because the total's below $10,000, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And now they're with the town office or a Scutney Park, but Center Grove would.
Okay, but the point is, we went through the RFP process. Is that good faith breaking that up now? Is that doable?
No, I worry about that when I think about it, just, if it wasn't explicit in the contract, it's implied.
I would think. I mean, I like saving $4,000, but we've got to follow rules too, and ethics and type thing. That's just my opinion. Dave, what do you think about this?
Yeah, no, you're probably onto something. But, so my question would have been, did you allot a certain amount of money and it's over anyway?
That is correct. The bids came back they came back $10,000 higher.
That's
Yeah.
a bigger fish to fry.
So, I don't think we need to, like, if you want to move on to the next part here, these are the 5 options that I told the board I'd put together. So these 5 options in the tree care project, it does allocate 10,000 under 2 of the options, no extra money under option 4, and then 67 and 37 for options 2 and 3.
We don't like number 2, that puts us in a hole, we don't want that.
Yeah, it leaves us negative $131, but what we could do there is just pay that out of the highway department budget, because that particular option does what Dave was looking to do in the last meeting, which was to make a payment on a truck in FY25.
Well, since the last meeting, though, there was one thing that came up. So, and some of this can be split differently. I mean, you're looking at $55,000 for Martin Hall. I mean, we don't have to do that much, or we can choose not to. I mean, that's
Yep.
a pretty big hit. Have you inquired about the Bow Pit reclamation?
I have not. I received your note, and I have not checked with Ray yet.
So, I don't know whether you're aware of this, Mike, or not, but the town got hit pretty hard with a fine years ago by not reclaiming. Let me back up. We have a pretty big sand pit over in the Bow. It was purchased, I think, almost like the year that I moved here, 1977, from Roger Eastman. And the town.
Dave, can you move the mic a little closer to you? I'm not hearing what you're saying.
The town owns a sand pit over in the Bow. And for years and years, we've been moving sand over to the town highway garage. And as we dig and take out roughly 5,000 yards a year, the Act 250 permit requires us to reclaim some of the land. So you take off the topsoil, and then you dig out the sand, and then you move it over, and so forth. Well, one day we woke up, I think Jim Mullen was the town manager, and the state had fined us for not doing that. And it was a pretty big ticket, speeding ticket. And of course, we appealed the decision, and it got cut in half, but it still was 5 figures. So the other day, I know that they're hauling sand, and I asked Brandon if we just send a letter out, but we had a little bit more ARPA funds left over. I know how the last reclaiming went. When we had that speeding ticket, we, of course, don't have really that much machinery to go putting loam back on, a couple of acres. So I think that the town highway used its loaders, but it went out to bid, and a farmer in Springfield was hired to harrow it, and he came over and used my 8-foot Brilliant seeder, and they seeded down the area that they were required to do. And so when they're hauling sand again, and I knew we had a little ARPA funds left over, I said, hey, Brandon, it'd be a good idea to send out a letter to 250 saying, oh, by the way, we're undertaking we're on the ball, and we're paying attention to our reclaiming, so we don't get another ticket. But I don't think it's gonna cost that much, but it's gotta be done anyway, and I knew that we had some of this. The second thing is that I've noticed that we do have We haven't gotten into the budget season yet, but this is why, when I'm looking at things, I kind of try to look at the end. I've noticed in town that we have at least 3 of these solar radar signs. And I don't know how much money they cost, but I know that they work, because I don't know about the rest of you, but when I come upon one, and all of a sudden it says, and I've been driving to Woodstock to go watch Chloe basketball, and it's like 20 miles an hour up there, so if you're going like 33, the whole world comes to an end on these signs. And but it does save labor, and it does work, because I immediately slow down, because it's like a reactive that you go, oh, I'm gonna do it. So I didn't know whether or not that, I know they are expensive?
Just in my school experience, we're looking at putting one in by my school.
I know Maple Street, the village asked us for that, and I think we put one up down there. I know we did, just before the perks. I know there's one on the center road.
Here don't work,
Oh, it doesn't work now?
the one out here on Route 5 does not work.
I was just throwing that out there for another suggestion, that's all, with the money. So I saw your allocation to Martin Hall, and from all these meetings, you're a little bit reluctant to start digging, and I guess I don't blame you. However, a gutter system or some other way to capture that water on the runoff without flooding us down here might be a lot cheaper, and it might work.
Yep.
So I see 55,000. So,
The problem with the Martin Memorial Hall drainage is I don't think we're gonna be able to come into a contract before December 31st. We haven't done any engineering, and that's required to go out to bid. So the engineers that I talked to can't get the project done fast enough to be able to be ready to go out to bid. So I think that 30,000 is off the table anyways, unless we go out to bid without engineering, which isn't recommended.
I didn't mean to splinter off, so we were talking about trees, so so the tree work is it just pruning? Was it taking down? What was the scope of the tree work in the 4 or 5
A little
sites?
bit of everything, if I remember correctly. Prune in and removal and planting where needed,
Planting too?
I think so.
So where do you propose,
Planting, pruning and removal.
okay, good. So where do you propose coming up with another 10?
Well, that's what he has it up above, right, in some of those options.
So-
So they've already spent some of that 15,000, is that what you're saying?
About $1,500 worth.
Okay.
Yep.
Even with the so if we went with the chippers, we have to come up with an additional,
If we split it up, we have to come up with an additional 6. If we decide to award the entire thing to chippers, we need to come up with an additional $10,736.80.
I think I'm with Nate and Mike when they said, I don't think it's good faith that they get split. I don't know if the bidders,
But I had another idea, and that's this. I agree. But that idea had to do with taking these 4 options and splitting it between 3 competitors. I don't think that's the right thing to do. And I think that's what you were just commenting on, Dave.
Yes.
However, you have a valid point too. $15,000 was the allocated amount. We don't have to give all 4 of the projects. What's the most important? Is it just the Center Grove that really needs the attention, and that we need to do that and just do that? Or maybe we do the Center Grove and the Scutney Park with Upper Valley property and just do that? We don't have to do all 4 of the projects, do we? If it came out over, we've only got 15,000, can't we say we just want to do these 2?
So actually, the invitation for bid document requires a fixed price bid per site. So it can be split up.
I just don't feel right, because, I mean, when you look at the Ascutney Park, do you mean to tell me that Ted Knox is gonna show up for $150?
That's what I was thinking too.
No,
That's
why-
exactly where I was at, yeah.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, but if you gave him the Perkinsville Green in the Scotney Park, now it's 8,500. In other words, you just do those, if he just did those 2 things. And I'm not saying you give him those 2 and you give somebody else 2 others. if $15,000 is what we have, and we've already spent 1,500, I think you said roughly? So we've got 13,500 to spend. So we could do Center Grove and Ascutney Park and give it to Upper Valley Property Management.
I'm gonna suggest we make,
So, can,
go ahead.
just my opinion on the order of priorities. I think the Perkinsville Green is probably the highest priority. There's 3 trees that are pretty far gone, right up in power lines and leaning towards the big window on the church. And a dead one that's near the memorial that is a little bit trickier. I would say the Mart Memorial trees are probably lowest priority, and then the Ascutney Green is also pretty simple. It's a pretty small tree that we could deal with. So I think the Perkinsville Green is probably the most important, and then but that's not to say that the Center Grove isn't, because there's people who spend a lot of time around there and dead branches fall down. So.
Okay.
Did the bidders understand that we had the right to reject a site bid? So in other words, when they bid all 4, if we said we weren't gonna have 2 of the sites at the end when we had to make the decision?
Wouldn't that also be
I
a,
don't believe that was part of the discussion.
So according to the disclaimer, the town of Weathersfield reserves the right to accept or reject any and all bids in whole or in part, and to accept other than the apparent lowest bid and/or total project cost as read, to amend, modify, or withdraw. So, I mean,
Right, so we could do 3 sites is the way I read this.
Yeah, but I'm gonna stand in with what you and Mike said, Nate. I'm gonna make a motion that we award the whole project and figure it out, the financing, to Chippers at a bid not to exceed $23,750.
do I hear a second?
I'll second that one.
We have a motion that's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
I say we just use the rest of ARPA funds to pay for whatever's left of it. $6,736.80.
And that's okay, Brandon?
it would be 10,000.
Yeah, it's-
But yes, I do agree with that. It's quite a bit of work that we need to get done. So I think it's a good use of ARPA funds.
But they came in, it was a fair bid process of the 4 sites across the board, and I'm not comfortable with picking and choosing, different, I can't, so I'm into that.
I was never involved in favor of breaking it up and giving it to different people. But if we wanted to do just like 2 sites with 1 person, I was okay with that. But I'm okay with this too.
And I just listened to Ryan, and he said the 2 sites, unfortunately, are the most expensive.
Yes, exactly. So at that point, you might as well get it done. I agree. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, Rika. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0-0. Thank you, everyone.
So when we come up to the totality of these ARPA funds, that I also support what Kelly just said, which was that the total balance comes out of ARPA, so that's gonna affect the other projects in the line here, right? Did everybody understand that?
Yes. That leaves just the website and social media improvement project?
We're doing interviews this week, so we'll be ready on November 12th.
Okay. And that's the end of that for now? Yes?
Yep.
Okay. Town manager update. Go ahead.
Are we making decisions on the rest of the ARPA money, or just on those? I kinda thought we.
Modine heater's done. Tree project's done. Discussion on drainage and HVAC, sorry.
So for the drainage, it might be a good idea to get into a contract with an engineer prior to year end to engineer the drainage. I don't know where the money is gonna come out or come from after that. We do have a reserve fund for the Memorial Hall, but I'm not sure what the construction cost would be. The select board has already approved $5,000 for the engineering. So that's currently on the balance sheet here. Let's see.
What is the scope of the work that the engineer's to do, though? Suppose he says that gutters are gonna work just fine, then that's really not digging or excavation. That's more like a building. Didn't we have a building assessment anyway when we did some stuff?
Yes, and the recommendation was for drainage at that time, but I think you're right. Moving the water away from the problem area should at least help the problem. It's not gonna hurt it.
I had gotten a price on it from a company, and it seemed like a really legit company, came out, looked at everything. All the gutters, pre-existing gutters, we were gonna get extensions on them as well, because they're kind of dumping out the base of the building and causing rot. Sadly, he kind of dropped off communication with me, so I'm now back in the process of getting people back out to do gutters. So it was going well, and now it's kind of starting over.
Did you hear a number? Did they float?
Yeah, it was very low, actually. It was, below 2,000. It was like 1,500.
Yep, I remember.
I don't know that I would trust that low, but but on the other hand,
Not 50.
exactly,
Oh,
exactly. I guess I'd get right on that. I would put out a request to all contractors to
Okay.
put on a, just do it. I don't think you need our approval.
So we may be reallocating this 5,000 then. I guess I can talk to an engineer before the next meeting and see what a scope of work would look like, and then present it to you guys so we can.
And we have pre-existing gutters on sections of the building, but where the working on the building is, right there on this wall, is no gutters. So I think that is right there, that I think that's a big part of the construction.
Isn't it where the cutout to the roof comes like right here?
It is, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the cutout of the roof here.
Not
as
so
a
much
part
there,
of it.
but it was here a
It's
lot.
right over there is where
Yep.
it jets out, and this whole section of the wall is all
Yep.
very much. And I'd probably say after we get the gutter system and if the working reduces, maybe a check for mold, like I don't know if there's dogs that come and sniff the wall. I don't know. Down the road.
I think since we have this dehumidifier in the room, there
Yeah.
hasn't been any additional buckling of the walls or the floor. So,
Been dry this year, though.
Yeah, a lot, exactly.
okay. All right, I'm gonna do an RFQ for gutters.
My fear of the engineering would be, a study, and then we'd need to pass a bond or something, because engineers get carried away.
Well, that takes care of the drainage half of that discussion. And what about the HVAC side of it?
So the HVAC side of it, Todd Henninger put together his recommendation, and we reviewed it at a couple of meetings. I think I printed it and gave it to everyone. We have a grant application that we submitted for that, and we're just waiting to receive a decision. We're supposed to receive it on the 25th. I got an email and said the decisions are delayed. So hopefully on November 12th, I have an update on that, but it could be paid for.
Is all paid for, or is there a matching sum?
I believe it was 100% grant, so.
So are you recommending we wait on the rest of the ARPA funds until
Yes.
you hear back? Is that your recommendation?
I think we're right on schedule, and at the worst case scenario, if we start getting into December, the board could just decide to pay off a loan and we could just be done with it.
Exactly, like Dave said, just pay off some debt. Yep. Okay. Now, town manager update?
Yeah, I just have a couple of things tonight. So just an update on the 7219 Route 106 Stream Bank Repair Project. At the last meeting, I told the board that bids came in and we were short $8,000. NRCS is providing an additional $2,200. And then I talked to the landowner, and the landowner agreed to pay the additional $6,400. So that gets us through the engineering phase of the project. And once that's done, NRCS has agreed to pay for construction up to the total cost of the house. So that should cover the construction part of the project. So I awarded the contract today to Ripple Natural Resources. We did go out to bid. That's the only company that bid. So I notified NRCS and notified them, and we're going to be coming into a contract soon. We're currently under audit, so auditors were here last week, they're here this week. They're here ahead of schedule this year, so that's good. So it should sync in well with budget season for fund balances. Last week was my week to assemble. I have all of the numbers for the FY26 budget, but there's some consolidation happening this year, and it requires me to go back 4 years and merge those numbers so that the select board in the town can see what the numbers look like combined for 4 years. But I got really held up with some issues in town last week that took me away from doing that. That's why there's not a budget here tonight. So I've delegated those issues, and over the next couple of weeks I'll be assembling the budget and prepared on November 12th to present. I would like the select board to appoint a member to the Waterline Replacement Project Review Committee. So if you guys can continue to think about which member would be best for that. We'll be going out to bid soon, so bids will come back.
What's it pay?
It's volunteer, and it shouldn't be too time consuming. The engineer will go through the bids with the committee. And then from there, the committee would just make a recommendation on which bid to accept. And we're just looking for it to be a very fair and impartial process. I think 2 to 3 meetings.
No takers?
But my estimates for meeting time lengths have been wrong before, so.
Time or two?
There is a fire department committee meeting next week, next Wednesday, to discuss fire services and the Weathersfield Fire Department. The West Weathersfield Fire Station project and Upper Falls project,
Excuse me, what time is that meeting next Wednesday?
it's at 6:30.
Thank you.
And the meetings are, actually Nicole does the minutes for that meeting as well.
And the location is here.
It's here downstairs. The meetings are very prompt. They last 60 minutes, and I allow 2 motions of 15-minute extensions. So at the most, it'll end at 8 p.m.
What day is that next week?
Wednesday.
It's a good opportunity to come and see what we're currently working on. And like I said, the Weathersfield Fire Department will be on the agenda.
If nothing else, it's a perfect opportunity to come and sit and watch me be quiet for an hour and a half. I don't say a word, for the most part. Can you believe it?
Okay, covered. So the Upper Falls Covered Bridge project has been advertised for bid. Here's some good news. The town of Weathersfield received a $30,000 payment for a local economic recovery grant. It's a local economic recovery grant. There's not many restrictions for this grant, so the funds just can't be spent on anything that's FEMA eligible. Other than that, everything else is on the table. So I didn't put it on the agenda tonight because we're still kind of digesting, what to use it for. But I think on a future agenda, we'll talk about how to use that $30,000. And then last, our next select board meeting is on Tuesday, November 12th. The town office will be closed on the 11th for Veterans Day.
Do we know when the next transfer station meeting is?
I believe it's tomorrow.
Does that happen here, or does that happen somewhere else?
So that happens upstairs in my office, and that happens, let me see, it's tomorrow at 11 a.m. It's an executive committee meeting.
Oh, okay. That's not open to the public then?
It can be. You're welcome to attend. I can send you the link.
Do you have any updates about the transfer station? Is it in the black?
So last week I was supposed to do Q1 actuals. I didn't have time. This week I'll be doing that, and I'll have a report on November 12th.
Any other questions? You all set with your update?
That's it.
Future agenda items. Any need to go over any of this? Any of this priority to anyone to be at the top of the list and get on the agenda? No?
There sure are a lot of signs out. There must be like 5 million more this week than last week.
Disappear next week.
I gotta say, they'll be gone next week.
Cow.
What is Meadow Lane? Where are we with Meadow Lane? I see that written down at the bottom of the list, but I forget.
I thought we were waiting for.
Are we still waiting on something for that one?
I'd like to resolve this road issue first, if we can. And then get into another road issue.
Okay.
Maybe one road issue at a time.
Okay. Last one.
Good answer.
Tackle them both and get them done that way.
I can't, I'll reserve my comments for that.
Okay, nothing else on 10, future agenda items? Appointments, I don't see any appointments. That takes us to approve the warrants. Oh my God, are you serious? It's not even 8 o'clock yet.
Maybe I should get tied up more often.
Okay,
Approve the warrants. General fund, payroll, $18,018.66. Operating expenses, $26,883.91. Highway fund, payroll, $9,375.34. Operating expenses, $33,073.50. Solid waste management fund, payroll, $1,967.86. Operating expenses, $1,482.71. Library payroll, $2,480.34. Grants, $305.30. Total payroll, $31,842.20. Total expenses, $61,745.42.
do I hear a second?
Yep.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the warrants? My financial hawks are happy with everything? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye?
Aye.
Thank you, Rika. The motion carries 5-0. Well, any abstentions? And any opposed? 5-0-0. Any other business? Before we do the executive session, Brandon, I'll turn to you. Interim bylaw. The interim bylaw on the, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
So, that is warned for next Tuesday, I believe. Let me just confirm. Tuesday, November 5th at 6:30 p.m.
Anybody want to talk about that at all? This is the interim bylaw for the,
We have the meeting on Tuesday, right, to go over that?
yep.
I thought you canceled that because of voting day.
Tuesday's voting day.
That is correct.
I thought you said you.
You sent out an email
it was
saying.
tabled until further notice. And you're like,
Yes,
"Ah."
that is correct, actually. I believe we're going to handle it.
At the next meeting, the next regularly scheduled meeting
Yes.
following that.
Sorry.
November 12th.
Yep, I'll rewarn it tomorrow.
I was sitting here thinking to myself, what are these trying to pull a fast one on.
No, I'm really not. There's been a lot going on.
And so that's all on that for now? Anybody have anything they want to say on that, or questions on that, or information they would need?
No, I just, when you weren't interested about the process for accepting interim.
Yep.
Just so that we have, clarity what the standard process is, that would be helpful, at least to me.
Absolutely.
I just received a packet from Olivia. This is a Act 248 notice for a monopole cell tower at 7228 Vermont Route 131. That is the notice given to us. So I will pass this on to the Planning Commission for their review and any comments back from them to us. I believe, I don't believe, Ryan, are you still with us?
No.
He's not? Anyway, I'll take care of that and find out if there's a preferred site status or any of that information, or any process like that that goes with this. I've only seen a couple of these in my 18 years on that board. But, and I know that the last time we dealt with a siting, we did issue a request, and it was thank you very much, but no thank you by the PUC. So, but anyway, never hurts to, we do automatically get priority status in these. And that brings us to executive session to revisit the issue we talked about before. Do I hear a motion for it? Do I hear a second? Motion's been made and seconded for executive session. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.